Formally wish good morning to all in Harris Hall and welcome those joining us online. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Lane County Board of County Commissioners to order. It's Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. You know, the board has been receiving a lot of emails about the recent ICE involvements and what's going on in our community. And I'd like to just tell a small little story if I could, so please humor me a little bit. He calls himself part of the brown people. I call him Rue. He's a friend, a father, a husband, a business owner, a mortgage holder, a caretaker to his mother-in-law, a hard worker, and an undocumented man whom I've trusted with many projects of development for well over a decade. He shed tears of great fear the other day in my driveway, fearful of the latest surge of apprehensions by federal agents, fearful of how things could play out if he was detained, separated, and had to start his immigration status from scratch back in Mexico. 2 years ago, we had this conversation about making his immigration right. My family put up a bond, helped with lawyers, wrote letters of recommendation, and got personally involved to bring proper legal status to ensure his peace of mind and safety. He's on his way, but he's still afraid. And in the middle of the prayer that I was speaking over him, Rue's tears in my driveway, it hit me even deeper. This is everyone's problem. It's not us and them, it's us. It's not bringing this story to boast, but to rather shift the narrative, the words and the protest signs into action. If this issue means something to you, proclamations, words, finger pointing won't solve the problem. Do your personal involvement and be involved in a brown person's lives. I urge each one of us to help one, do something for someone else. Thank you for that. Good morning, Mr. Mokraiski and our colleagues. How are you, sir?
Good.
Good. Do we have any adjustments to our agenda?
No.
Any emergency business? No. Great. We have a number of public comments ahead of us. We do have time. We do have limited time this morning, so we're still going to extend our time to 3 minutes for each public commenter. So I'm going to call your name, and those on deck be ready to go up so we can get to the business at hand. We do have a executive session we need to get to at a time certain right past 11. So my first public commenter up for bid here is Victoria Koch, followed by Jolene Simonson, please.
Good morning.
My name's Victoria, and yes, just what Mr. Lovell was talking about. I walked here, and it was really cold, and I thought, gosh, I'm an asylum seeker sponsor, and my asylum seeker walked from El Salvador through several countries with a caravan at the time, and I just was thinking, wow, it was children, families. She walked all that way, crossed the border in Arizona, and there she was put on a plane and shackled, both her arms and her legs, to transport her, this is 6 years ago, to a detention in Colorado. And I found out about her through OCAN, Oregon Community Asylum Network, and she was gonna go back. She was just like, she was treated so horribly. I thought, I can take her, I can help her. And I did, and I'm so grateful I did. And she came and lived with me for a couple of years, and it was an amazing experience. And just like Mr. Lovell said, it's really important to get involved with people personally. And she changed my life because I just learned so much about the privilege I have, but also just about what do they want? They're just human beings. This is what gets me. We're all human. They just wanted safety, care, a good home. And I'm glad to say she's got an incredible job. She's actually a supervisor where she's working right now. She's doing good things. And this is what gets me. I just want us to be humane. And we, as a city, as a state, as a county, we need to make a statement that just what you said, Mr. Lovell, that we care about these people. These are our neighbors. These are our friends. And she's doing good, and she's helping, and we need them. So thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you, Ms. Koch. Thank you very much. Jolene Simonson, followed by Chris Ellis, please.
Good morning, elected officials, community members. My name is Jolene Simpson. I'm a resident of Lane County. As you know, recent events on November 5th in Cottage Grove involved ICE agents pulling a legal resident from her car on a dark and wet early morning, pulling her to the ground, surrounding her, kneeling on her, cuffing her, and detaining her. Her daughter was finally able to intervene, crying out, "What are you doing? That is my mother." Her cry in the dark was heartrending. I am here to thank County Commissioners Buck, Farr, and Trieger for immediately speaking out in opposition to this horror. I am here to thank Lane County for release of emergency funds to help mitigate the economic pressures experienced by community members most impacted by this federally sponsored reign of terror. I am here to urge Lane County Commissioners to make a public statement opposing these terror tactics. I urge all of you to use your elected office and authority to stand together for just treatment of all human beings residing in our community. I am here to urge you to order an investigation into the incident of November 5th when a legal resident was assaulted and detained against her will and with no legal basis. I am here to ask the county sheriff to partner with state and municipal police departments to protect the rights and well-being of all Lane County residents. And I am here because I fear this won't be the last time something like this happens in our community. I am here to show support for those most heavily impacted and to let you know that our hearts and this community are with you. And I just want to say I welcome Juanita and Emily Avila, who are here witnessing this meeting today.
Thank you. Chris Ellis, followed by Barbara Miller.
Greetings, I'm Chris Ellis. I live in Cottage Grove, and I live just around the corner from Juanita's store. And what they did to her, what they've been doing to so many others everywhere, is just straight out barbaric. There's no other way to describe it. These people are just mindless psychos. That's what they're behaving like. And I had a grandfather on my mother's side who deployed to Europe 80 years ago to fight the Nazis in World War II. And for, for him to, if he was here to see what is happening here in the country he put his life on the line to defend, to see the same thing happening here that he witnessed in Europe 80 years ago, he would be beside himself with rage. And this has got to stop. One way or another, it has to stop. It has no place whatsoever in a civilized democracy. What they did to her and what they're doing to so many others is just straight out barbaric. Please do what you can to stop it once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Miller, followed by Emily Heilbrunn.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Miller. I live in Eugene. I'm here for the same reason most of these other people are here. I ask you as an elected body to please document your disgust and your rage about what the federal government is doing, their policies, their hatred, their evilness. This is beyond the scope of anybody's imagination, and I ask you, because of your elected capacity, because you're official, would you please document and let everybody know how much against all of this you are, because it is a disgrace and it's an embarrassment to be an American at this point, given what our government is doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily Heilbrunn, followed by Dennis Reynolds.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Emily Heilbrunn. I use she, her pronouns, and I live in Eugene. First of all, I want to thank Commissioners Trieger, Buck, and Farr, who signed the statement denouncing recent actions by ICE. Thank you also to the county for releasing funds for food and to assist basic household needs of the families disrupted by the recent immigration enforcement activity. There are families with children who cannot pay their rent now because the wage earner in the family has been taken to Tacoma and is in detention. Anyone who is detained for any reason is entitled to due process under our Constitution. Community members being detained by ICE are being denied due process and access to their attorneys. I hope the entire Board of Commissioners will take a stand on this and advocate for our community members' constitutional rights. Chair Lovell and Commissioner Seneca, I urge you to join your colleagues in the statement that they made. And Chair Lovell, I appreciate the support that you gave to a community member you knew, and I know that many in this room have done that. The fact is that many of the people referred to as undocumented have filed claims for asylum and are following the process and checking in with ICE and have cases pending sometimes now for many, many years because the immigration system is even more backed up than it was in recent years, which was already very bad. So I thank you for considering this and doing what you can to deal with this terrible situation. Thank you.
Dennis Reynolds, followed by Sue Craig. Thanks.
Chair Lovell, members of the commission, my name is Dennis Reynolds. I'm an affiliated community minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church here in Eugene. And I want to thank you, Commissioner Lovell, for bringing up a sense of each of us are called to do what we can. And you've acted as an individual. You also fill roles that are public, that are elected to be more representative and have a different kind of power. That's why I'm deeply grateful for the statements that Commissioner Farr, Trieger, and Buck have made publicly. And we can do more. We've witnessed excesses in immigration enforcement across the country, and now more recently in Lane County. A trespass into the lobby of the county jail, trespass, to take one into custody is not civil rights and appropriate behavior in our county. I urge continuing investigations of what kinds of errors led to that possibility, continuing investigation of how Lane County law enforcement can reduce incidents like what was described happen in Cottage Grove, not in our town, not in our county, not in our communities, because we want to be different here. Okay, so how should we proceed? How should we go forward? I think Hebrew scripture offers us a clear answer to that question. I want to thank you, Commissioner Lovell, for noting the T-shirt I wear, which was an answer to how should one love God? How should one love divinity? However you name it, and it's simple. Do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly. That's not the action that federal law enforcement is taking into our county. So through investigations, through public statements, through work with county law enforcement, let's do all we can to make Lane County a place where such action is taken as reality and where liberty and justice and civil rights exist for everyone who lives in our county, for all our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue Craig, followed by Marshall Curry.
Thank you very much. My name is Sue Craig. I live in Eugene. And I just want to give you a little bit different perspective on all this business that we are talking about now. First of all, we are using our tax money to do these illegitimate and against the law actions. I'm paying for this. I am paying for the National Guard to go in. I am paying for, then you come up and use your wonderful funds to help these people that have been impacted. That's my tax money. It's just kind of crazy when you think about it. So I want you to think about, I want everybody to think about the fact that we are paying for things that are against the law. This is what we're paying for, and that's wrong. I want my tax dollars to go to all the good things that we need to do, the education, health care, all the wonderful things that you have done in this community. And that's where our money needs to go, not for things that are against the law. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marshall Curry, followed by Chloe Longworth.
Good morning, Chair Lovell. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Marshall Curry. I love Lane County. I grew up in Springfield. I love its rivers, its people, and I was raised by local leaders in Springfield Public Schools and sports teams and religious organizations to know how to show unconditional love to those around me, including those that are statistically underserved and oppressed. I had to change my story today to be here, and I'd ask you all to consider your own stories and how we can change them today. Today I'm here to ask us to protect one another. What is happening is ignoring due process. I'm concerned about my family, who is a family of immigrants, not by blood, but by marriage, and they're all legal citizens, but we know from many cases that that federal agents are ignoring citizenship. Thank you, Commissioner Bush, Farr, and Traeger for changing your story and speaking out on behalf of us as community members. Thank you for speaking out against federal ICE kidnapping and aggression in our communities. Uncertainty and fear kills business. It creates social isolation. Your efforts as the county government to release funds is why I took time off work to come say thank you. I really mean it. It shows that the people of Lane County care. I'm asking you to use your power. Change your story. Change your story to make it harder for federal agents to cause harm, ignore our rights, and take parents away from their children. My son had nightmares when I described to him a book we were reading about the story of his grandparents and how I had to describe it in comparison to what his classmates are going through right now. I asked commissioners in Lane County to lead inquiry into the incident on November 5th and others when they occur. I ask when can we expect an official summary statement from the county regarding this inquiry. I urge the county to communicate standards of law enforcement behavior and to do more to call out and change policy on what is allowed. And please stand up for the rights of all Lane County residents. Denounce the use of excessive force publicly and loudly with all of your supporters behind you. I'll be there. My heart and soul are with those impacted families, and my eyes are on all of us in this room to see how our stories change to support local safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Chloe Longworth, followed by Brenda Kamenui. Hope I got that right.
Good morning. My name is Chloe Longworth. I use she, they pronouns, and I'm here with the Trans Alliance of Lane County. Today, I want to speak up against the idea that Lane County Sheriff Office wants to put in about 20 or so flock cameras all around Lane County. Most of them are outside the city of Eugene and Springfield because we've already made movements to turn them off. When Carl Wilkerson was elected as sheriff, he swore to uphold the Lane County Sanctuary Promise Act. And it is important to remember for him and for everyone that worked with him that working with flock and having flock cameras in the county would be a direct violation of that Sanctuary Promise Act. So I'm here to remind people and to urge people to take action to not let flock cameras be put up in Lane County, please. Also, I want to say that Laval read a nice story this morning, and I hope that it is followed by sincere action that he will take. It is good to have words to express how we feel and to take actions to also express how we feel. Thank you.
Thank you. Brenda, followed by Pete Goldlust.
My name is Brenda Kameinui from Eugene. In a country we scarcely recognize from a short time ago, a country riddled with noise and lawlessness, celebrated by those in power, a country with no sheriff in town to put a stop to the wreckage, and one where people are made to suffer so that those in power can feel more powerful, exact revenge, and line pockets in violation of laws. Lane County has been a bit of an oasis until last week, when terror came to our front door. My thanks to Commissioners Buck, Farr, and Trieger for speaking out about the assault in Cottage Grove, the injustice and terror of the raids, and the harm to our communities. I ask Lane County to speak loud and clear to the Department of Homeland Security about proper standards of law enforcement behavior. Stand up for the rights of all Lane County residents, abide by the Oregon Sanctuary Law, and denounce excessive force. The lawless federal government needs to hear from every county and state in the nation that the prescribed behavior of ICE is licensed for bullies and has no place in democracy. Please order an investigation. Thank you to Lane County government for releasing funds for food and housing, and to our community for stepping up to fill the gap for those living with extreme food insecurity. Oregon and Lane County are great places to live, but we have to work hard, really hard now, to keep them great for all our community.
Thank you. Pete Goldlust, followed by Nafali Renshaw.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is still Pete Goldlust. I'm a resident of Eugene, a small business owner, and I work with TALC, the Trans Alliance of Lane County. Earlier this year, the Commission adopted a measure to state affirmatively that Lane County will actively support and reinforce Oregon's status as a sanctuary state and protect local community members and groups that are being singled out and targeted by the overreaching anti-democracy, authoritarian, and overtly racist policies of our current federal administration, including immigrants and trans people. The action you took in opposition to this federal overreach was very much appreciated by this community. The Commission also hired a new sheriff. During this process, you made a point to ask the applicant, now Chief Carl Wilkerson, whether he would uphold this sanctuary policy. Officer Wilkerson answered unequivocally that he would follow this law and act accordingly in support of our community's stated value to protect each other from the unpopular actions of our federal government. The flock cameras surveillance system that has recently been turned off by the city of Eugene is entirely incompatible with this mandate to uphold our sanctuary status. Flock data is available to ICE, and they use it to monitor our movements. Flock is used by ICE to terrorize our communities. If you have followed any of the highly charged and thoroughly researched testimony of our community members at city council meetings, both in Eugene and Springfield, then you know the litany of reasons why Flock is invasive, unconstitutional, and poses great legal and financial risk to any municipality that buys in. And you know that public opinion on both sides of the river is overwhelmingly opposed to these cameras. So what on earth was Lane County Sheriff's Department thinking when it decided to ignore this tidal wave of public outcry and go ahead and give Flock a try to see for itself? If Lane County chooses to go forward, ignoring both the moral hazards and the financial risks of this decision, it is likely to cost us dearly. We ask you here today to demand that the Sheriff's Department respect this community's values. We ask you to stand behind the words you've spoken and the actions you've taken. We ask that you require the Sheriff's Department to stand by its word, learn from the mistakes of the city of Eugene, and oppose Flock cameras in Lane County. And please expect the Sheriff's Department to be good to its word.
Thank you. Nafali Renshaw, followed by Drew Winters.
Good morning. My name is Naftali Renshaw. My pronouns are she, they. I am speaking with TELC and as a faith-rooted community developer in the area. I want to thank Commissioners Book, Trieger, and Farr for taking action and speaking out in support of our targeted community members. I hope that you will continue to do so, and that Commissioner Seneca and Lovell will also speak out on behalf of our targeted community members. I also want to thank the release of funding for our most vulnerable members who are facing increased food and housing insecurity. I hope that the county will continue to look for ways to support groups throughout this winter. Unfortunately, we don't think that ICE activity will decrease, and we're going to have hungry people in need of support from their neighbors. I also want to speak to the flock cameras that the county has purchased through the Sheriff's Department. There has been ample testimony on the city level. I would encourage our county officials to examine that testimony. It does compromise our promises at a county level, our sanctuary promises at county level, and our status as a sanctuary state. There's ample evidence that ICE has used flock cameras to target vulnerable community members, and this is not good for our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Drew Winters, followed by Rose Wildy.
I'm Drew Winters. I'm from Notai. I'm not as eloquent as the previous speakers, but I wish to thank you for condemning the actions in Cottage Grove, the three commissioners who did. I wish to thank you for the aid you gave to our residents, housing aid and food aid. I wish to urge you to inquire into what is going on. This is not due process, which is guaranteed by the 5th and 14th Amendments of our Constitution. The more we can do, the better off we are. Prior to Cottage Grove, I was still going to come here today because I wanted to speak against Flock. It has been used to target people across state lines. It has been used for personal vendettas as well as ICE. The data it collects does not belong to Lane County. It belongs to Flock and has been weaponized. Please, I urge you, I know you haven't installed them, which is a good thing, but I urge you to return them. get them out of our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rose Wilde, followed by George Benson.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Rose Wilde, she, her pronouns. I live in Commissioner Buck's district. I think I pretty much can affirm and agree with all of the public comments so far and reinforce the call to ask the county to investigate and to put some energy into attempting to interrupt, distract, delay, anything you can legally do as a Board of County Commissioners to play your role in making it more difficult for ICE to conduct their illegal and appalling operations in Lane County. There's lots of ways, lawsuits, investigations, interviews, simply enforcing our expectations as a community. I just also want to, I've been bumping around here in Lane County for most of my life and working in nonprofit and human services and volunteering in different capacities, particularly with children and families. And I was at the vigil in Cottage Grove last week, and I got to hear Emily and Juanita talk about their experience. And it reminded me of something that Carmen Urbina said years ago when she was the director of Centro Latino Americano and has since gone on to many high positions, many more high positions in this county and state. And she said that where she grew up, one of the things that they did when they greeted each other is they centered the children. They said, "And how are the children?" And I thought, how awful to see your mother thrown to the floor, to see somebody kneeling on her back, to not know if she'd be taken away and possibly disappeared, lost in a system where you wouldn't know how to find her. And, thank God she was there to advocate for her mom, and what a strong person, but think of all the children who couldn't defend their parents, last week, 2 weeks ago, and all the children around the country who are afraid to go out, afraid to go to school. People are afraid to go to work, afraid to shop. I'm getting text messages and all the time saying, do you know people who might go shopping because people are afraid to leave their homes? So, this is not making our community safer. And the wrongful blame of immigrants for problems in our society is just a tool used to manipulate us, and it doesn't make us safer or better as a community. So thank you for what you are doing. I hope and encourage you will think creatively about what else we can do to pull us together as a community and make things better and safer for our kids. Thank you.
George Benson, followed by Leslie Hunter.
Hello, my name is George Benson. My former federal prison reg ID is 71062-510. From my perspective regarding homelessness and charges of criminal trespassing and loitering, I find it to be disproportionately affecting homeless people. And I'm here to investigate why the problem has not been solved. One way to do that is through public records. I believe that at this point in human history, within the jurisdictional boundaries of Lane County, that public records should be free of charge. Thank you.
Leslie Hunter, and then we'll go to our online queue.
Good morning. My name is Leslie Hunter, and I've been living in Oregon for about 46 years, and I had no idea I'd be at this microphone today. All of a sudden, I got up and said, I have to come down here and see what's happening, and I've got to say, I feel very supported in all of my beliefs by being here, hearing what the commission's been doing, hearing how my fellow citizens are feeling and what people are doing. I've been active in little tiny ways here and there to combat what I feel is really the Nazis moving into our community. I lost my partner 3 years ago to Vietnam, basically, because of his poisoning there. So there's just, there's so much good we can do as humans to help each other, and now we're in the position of just having to fend evil all the time instead of helping our homeless and feeding our children and educating our children. And what I hear the administration, the federal administration, do is say over and over and over that what they're doing is legal. Well, I just want to remind myself and everyone else that what Hitler did was considered legal. So legal is no longer a term we can fall back on or support. We have to do what's right for our children, what's right for our community. And I think this body has been heading in the right direction, and I thank you for that. So again, as Commissioner Lovell said, we all have to pick our own way to support this. And you guys, being in a little bit more of a position of power, have a lot on your shoulders to fight against things like the flock cameras, which will be used. This is not, 5 years ago where we're just dealing with the criminal element. No. We're just dealing with people that want to live their lives. So that's the consideration. Anyway, I'm babbling on, but thank you for being here and for having this open forum for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sunder. We're sorry for your loss, and thank you for your partner for his service. Jessica, do we have anyone online?
Yes, we do. For those joining us virtually, if you would like to give public comment, please raise your virtual hand now. Chair, I'll return it to you. I see no hands raised.
All right. Thank you very much, Jessica. Thanks, everyone, for the help in getting this done. Thank you for all coming to the podium in such an orderly manner and quickly. We got through that very well, and I thank you for your comments. Your heartfelt comments and your concerns are on all of our hearts. If I can speak for my colleagues, we're all doing everything that we can from our position and our lane to address these serious and discerning issues and that concern our community and that hurt others in our community. So know that our hearts are with you, and for those that pinned hearts on your chest, I wish we could do the same, but we can't. So we shared that with you, so thank you again. All right, we do have a tight schedule this morning, and we do have our consent calendar, our number 4 item. All items are here by routine of the Board of County Commissioners and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. And if there would be, they would have been removed for further discussion. Vice Chair, I'm looking for a motion on our consent calendar.
Chair, I move to approve the consent calendar from November 18th, 2025.
And second.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Buck. It's been moved by Vice Chair and seconded by Commissioner Buck to approve our consent calendar. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Mr. Mokraisi, looks like we're off to the races on our number 5 item, Public Works. Looks like the matter of setting a public hearing for the surrender of a portion of Gillum Road. Jay Blume, our county surveyor, is making his way up to the desk, I believe. Oops, not Jay today. All right, great. Whenever you're ready, sir, go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Laval, Vice Chair Traeger, and Commissioners. I'm here in the matter of setting a time and date for a public hearing for the surrender of a portion of Gillum Road, County Road number 2283, to the City of Eugene. The city has requested surrender of Gillum Road pursuant to County Resolution number 5456, approved by the City Council on September 22nd, 2025. ORS Chapter 373 requires a public hearing be set to allow testimony to be entered into the public record prior to approval or denial of road surrenders by the board. Our office would like to propose a date for the public hearing to be set December 16th, 2025 at 11 a.m. time certain. The proposed date and time will allow the county surveyor's office sufficient time to provide public notification for the hearing in the manner and timeframes required by law. A full report of the subject roads will be provided during the public hearing. At this time, I would like to turn over the matter to the board to consider the proposed date and time of the public hearing for the surrender of Gillum Road.
All right, thank you very much, sir. To the board, is there any questions on just the matter of assigning this? If not, I would be looking for a motion to assign this to a time certain and a day.
Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Farr.
Gillum Road has been a subject for debate for quite some time because it goes from the city and into the county, and there's been island annexations out there in the past, and presumably much of the action that we're taking, including today's, is moving toward reducing what has been a fairly unsafe situation sometimes for cyclists and pedestrians going to school from the city, out of the city and back into the city. Is that a good characterization?
I believe so. I mean, we are at the very end of the reconstruction of this section that we're surrendering, and I believe those are safety improvement oriented facilities that we'll be handing over to the city.
And the folks in the northeast neighborhood will be very appreciative of this action, along with the other actions that we have taken as a county to bring things into a more safe situation. So thanks very much.
All right, if there's no more further questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Yes, just to clarify real quick, what was the time certain again, Trevor?
11 a.m.
11 Excuse me. Chair, I move to approve Order 25111809 in the matter of approving, 25111808 in the matter of setting a public hearing for the surrender of a portion of Gillum Road to the city of Eugene. Time certain for December 16th, 2025 at 11 a.m.
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved to approve Order 25110808 and setting a public hearing date for December 16th at 11 a.m. time certain to consider the surrender of a portion of Gillum Road to the city of Eugene. Is there any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, let's call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much, sir. Well done.
All right,
Thanks, Trev. Take care. Our sixth item is a human resource item, Order 25111809, in the matter of approving a tentative agreement between Lane County and the County Peace Officers Association, heretofore referred to as LCPOA, if we can use that acronym. And with us is Andrea Nichols, our Assistant County Counsel, and Ms. Inga Wood, our Labor Relations Manager, the duo team of superiority labor negotiations.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Lovell and Commissioners. We're here to present the tentative agreement between Lane County and Lane County Peace Officers Association, also known as LCPOA. LCPOA represents employees in the Sheriff's Office and also represents employees in youth services. And there's approximately 275 budgeted full-time equivalent positions represented by this unit. The collective bargaining agreement between Lane County and LCPOA expired June 30th of 2025. Earlier this year, the county's bargaining team entered into negotiations with LCPOA for a successor agreement. The board established overall priorities, goals, and objectives for that negotiation process, including addressing market competitiveness while balancing the county's overall budget constraints and the rising cost of health care benefits. We are happy to report that through the negotiation process, we were able to reach a tentative agreement for a successor contract. The board is being asked today to approve the proposed 3-year agreement. It would begin July 1 of 2025 and end June 30th, 2028. The tentative agreement and summary of the proposed changes are contained in the board packet, but we have a few items we want to highlight. To address market competitiveness with our 5 county comparators, the salary plan for LCPOA represented positions will be increased by 2.5%. Additionally, 8 out of the 10 classifications that are represented by this unit will receive a market adjustment. The agreement provides a 2.8 cost of living adjustment, also referred to as a COLA, for year 1 of the agreement. The range of COLAs in years 2 and 3 will be based on the Consumer Price Index CPI-U West Region annual average for the prior calendar year. There's a minimum of 2% and a maximum of 5% for years 2, cost of living adjustments for years 2 and 3 of the agreement, and that's based on that CPI index I just referenced. New employees will be auto-enrolled in an employee-paid 1% deferred compensation program, and the county will match up to 1% for new and existing employees into that deferred compensation account. All represented employees will receive a $250 one-time payment the first full pay period following board approval, and the represented employees will receive a $750 one-time payment in the first full pay period following January 1, 2027. To help manage rising healthcare and employee benefit costs effective January 1, 2026, LCPOA represented employees will no longer be insured through the county's short-term disability program, as this benefit has been largely replaced with the benefit available through paid family medical leave. The county's copay plan, health plan, will no longer be available to new employees who are hired after December 31st of 2025. New employees will continue to have the option of the county's Plus plan or the high deductible health plan. Existing employees whose most recent hire date is prior to January 1st, 2026 will continue to have the option of all three health plans available. Effective January 1, 2027, health plan deductibles and out-of-pocket maximums will increase for all health plans. Copays for specialty visits and medication will also increase. Employees and their spouses or domestic partners who use tobacco products will pay a tobacco surcharge of $25 per person, but they will have the ability to have that waived if they quit or participate in tobacco cessation programs. There has been no increase to employee-paid monthly premiums. The total estimated cost for the proposed contract changes based on the CPI-related COLA increases is between $15,662,826 to $19,648,331 for the 3-year contract period. Both the Sheriff's Office and Youth Services personnel budgets are funded by the General Fund, the Local Option Levy Fund, and there's also some special revenue funding. The employees in this bargaining unit provide vital public safety services in the areas of corrections, police services, youth services, and operational support. We'd like to thank the LCPOA membership and the LCPOA bargaining team for their dedication to this process. The LCPOA membership has voted to approve the tentative agreement, and the county's bargaining team recommends the board approve the tentative agreement as well and authorize county staff to implement the negotiated changes. Those are all the comments I have. Ms. Woods, you have anything to add?
I just wanted to, in addition, when we say we thank the bargaining teams, let you all know who is on the bargaining team. And so for the county, obviously Andrea Nagels, myself, Carrie Crabtree, Sheriff Wilkerson, Tom Speldrich, Jason Moore, Greg Rice, Kim McGrew, Michelle Swancutt, Christine Moody, James Trujillo, Kristen Mayfair, Eliza Kaczynski, Greg Rickoff, and then also for LCPOA attorney, the attorney for LCPOA is Rhonda Fenrick, Eric Churchill, William Struble, Jason Gatchett, Christine, Justin Darnell, Guy Pease, and Justin Witham.
Great, thank you. It's a lot of moving parts in the same room, isn't it? Yes. Yeah, any comments from the board? Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Beck.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask, in several of our bargaining negotiations, we are often bargaining after the end of their contract. In this time period where they're working in good faith, but we're not actually in any kind of real solid contract. And that always makes me uncomfortable. I would always prefer that we're able to negotiate and start a new contract before people are working without a contract and they're in this zone where they're not really sure what's going to come of the work that they've been doing. And then we often then need to go back and retroactively start whatever contract that we're eventually able to settle on. Can you tell me a little bit as to why that occurs and what we could do to possibly narrow that time frame?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Buck, for that question. That's a great question. So we have 8 collective bargaining agreements here at the county. Each agreement is on their own cycle. Most of them are for 3-year contracts, as the board is aware. Those contracts will expire June 30th of whatever year that the 3rd year of the contract is. We try, as the Labor Relations Bargaining Team, to start negotiations for those upcoming expiring contracts as soon as possible, typically after the first of the year of the year where it will be expiring. So this, with LCPOA, we did start negotiating shortly after the first of the year, with our goal always being with this agreement and our other collective bargaining agreements to try to reach an agreement before the expiration of the contract, which is June 30th. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't happen. It just depends on the nature of the negotiations and how quickly or how many issues the parties may have to work through. So that is our goal, to try to reach an agreement before expiration, but sometimes it doesn't happen. When that does happen, though, and we go beyond the expiration, we typically agree to the retroactive application. I will just add that under the law, legally, when the contract expires, the parties are required to maintain the status quo under the expired agreement. So they don't receive wage increases and other changes that are negotiated, but the benefits and terms and conditions of employment that are negotiated under that expired contract do continue for those employees.
I would just also add, Commissioner, I appreciate the question too, is as you could tell from the people that we thanked as well, it takes a lot to get things scheduled. And as Andrea mentioned, with 8 collective bargaining agreements, currently we're in negotiations with 3 of our units. Last year we were in the cycle with 4 of our units. And so getting things scheduled as well, and when you're working also with often a group that's represented by another attorney who has other contracts they're negotiating around the state, that can absolutely be, thankfully we have Carrie Crabtree who schedules all of this for us and keeps us all kind of rolling, but we try our hardest, as Andrea mentioned, to get those scheduled after the first of the year and move through that. But also to keep in mind that when we're looking at things like market and COLAs and things like that, we're also looking at our 5 county comparators that we use for that, who are sometimes also in negotiations. And so we're looking to see where that all falls in line. Also, we rely heavily on our budget staff, which is also small, as you know. And so when it comes to the workload too, and that piece, we would, in order to kind of settle probably all of the contracts prior to an expiration, we just need more staff to be able to do that because of some of that, those scheduling issues, and then also our limited staff for 8 bargaining units.
I really appreciate that explanation. I think it's important for, all parties to understand what it takes to actually go through this bargaining negotiation. And it sounds like if we had the time or we had the extra staff, we would be able to maybe bump that up so that we wouldn't go past the end of a contract period. In any way that I think we can encourage that, I would be supportive of that. And with that, I just want to thank the LCPOA members for your work every day, but also the bargaining team members for coming together and working with the team here at the administration department. I think it went mostly smoothly at least from what I'm getting as information, and we appreciate the partnership.
Okay, anyone else? I'd just like to say too, but when I called you up and said you were the crack A team, I never want to become complacent in my amazement of the good job you and your team do. So I just want to pass that along too. Thank you for what you've done. Vice Chair, how about a motion?
Yes, Chair. I move to approve Order 25111809 in the matter of approving the tentative agreement between Lane County and the Lane County Peace Officers Association.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Vice Chair and seconded by Commissioner Buck to approve Order 25111809 in approving the tentative agreement between Lane County and the Lane County Peace Officers Association. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Again, thank you, and now onward to the next one, right?
Exactly.
Thank you again. Good work, team.
Thank you.
Mr. Mokryski, we're on our 6B item, Order 25111810, in the matter of approving a Marathon Health contract. And our James Trujillo and looks like our HR Director, Alana Holmes, has come to the table. As you will, start when you will.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Laval, Commissioners. We have a presentation that we're bringing up here just in a moment. Thank you, Jessica. So, good morning, Chair Laval, Commissioners. I'm here to share staff recommendations on continuation of the Employee Health Clinic and provide you an opportunity for questions and comments on this important wellness program supporting staff and their families. After a full RFP request for proposals that was completed by our benefit broker, which is USI, the county cultivated 4 bids for the Employee Health Clinic services. After completing a comprehensive analysis and vetting all 4 providers, which included bid proposals, reviews, and multiple interviews across all of the various organizations that bid for this work, staff, we recommend that we continue to partner with Marathon Health to provide the health clinic services for employees and their families. This is a 3-year contract with the option to extend 3 additional years. The contract is set to begin January 1st of 2026 with a total cost not to exceed $6 million over those 6 years. Lane County has worked with Marathon Health to deliver these services at the LiveWell Center since 2015. So the criteria for selection, as we worked through looking at all the various bids, we reviewed the overall client experience. We looked at wellness incentive tracking capabilities of the organization. We looked at overall cost and value. We reviewed the wellness and disease management services provided by the organizations, and we also reviewed their account management, reporting, and data management services. Each of these various criteria were weighted equally at 20%. So an important criteria as we look at the employee clinic is return on investment and cost associated with the employee clinic. So the LiveWell medical services are highly utilized at an average of about 85% monthly, meaning 85% of the open slots available for services are filled on any given month for the medical services. We have around 1,347 employees and benefited dependents, or 30% of our overall population of around 4,500 covered lives that utilize the LiveWell Center, and that happened between July 2024 and July of 2025 to give you a sense of the utilization. The employee feedback that we receive on their services that they get at the LiveWell Center are very good. They're favorable. At 95% of employees report that the care they receive is excellent from the LiveWell Center. We estimate that return on investment is at about 18%. So that means 18% of the costs of those that utilize the LiveWell Center are lower than those in our population that do not use the LiveWell Center. So a good return on our investment. And as a result of this contracting process, I'm happy to share that we are decreasing our costs by 9% going into the new contract term to $890,282 annually. These rates will be frozen for the first 2 years of the contract, and then the 3rd year is locked in at an increase of 4%. There are some changes that we are implementing with this new contract. Medical services have been highly utilized, as I shared with you previously, and the county is moving to increase access through additional staffing at the LiveWell Center. There will be 2 nurse practitioners and 2 lab tech / medical assistants that will be providing services at the LiveWell Center. One change that we are recommending with this new contract is due to ongoing low utilization of the behavioral health provider, only a 45% utilization of those services, is that we would discontinue providing the services at the LiveWell Center. This is partly due to we've had a significant increase in the utilization of Cascade Health, which is our new EAP provider, and staff have been utilizing that at a significantly higher rate than our previous EAP provider. And despite our best efforts at increasing the utilization for the behavioral health services over the past few years, we have not been able to get that number up. And so staff believes that it's our best and highest and best use of our dollars for this flat dollar amount that we provide to Marathon to increase the services that our employees are using, which is the medical services at the LiveWell Center. There will be some additional services available to staff at the LiveWell Center as well. There is a new virtual specialist service that will be available to all staff. This is a provider-to-provider service where specialists can be accessed by the nurse practitioners at the LiveWell Center to get specialist opinions and advice on medical conditions. That information will be then be made available to the patients at the LiveWell Center and can become part of their medical record. There will also be a new in-body scan device that will be added for employees and their dependents to access. This is a device that helps measure muscle mass and body fat, and it's part of our wellness program, and we hope to utilize it in the years to come to help employees with that. The overall value that I wanted to share with you in terms of the LiveWell Center, the county's mission is best met when our employees and their families are healthy and on the job, serving the taxpayers of Lane County. The LiveWell Center has been a critical component of our wellness program for a number of years. The LiveWell Center promotes employee wellness and provides same or next day acute care for those that are seeking that sort of care, and it helps them remain productive when they're able to access that sort of care. Providing the LiveWell Center to employees is an efficient and effective use of county funding, and it represents less than 2% of our overall benefit cost spend for the county. The county also monitors the overall performance of the contract through mutually agreed upon performance indicators. Some of those things that we are looking at in those performance indicators are member engagement. We're looking at patient satisfaction. We're looking at clinical quality that is provided, and also cost savings that are provided to our employees and their families. And with that, staff recommends that we recommend the new contract be approved by the commissioners with Marathon Health to manage the LiveWell Center. And should it be approved, the county and Marathon will execute a new agreement to be effective as of January 1st of 2026.
Great, thank you, James. Well done. Any questions or comments from the board? Commissioner Farr, please.
Thank you. I support this clearly. I do have a question, however. Behavioral health services. When you see that as a flag that we're reducing behavioral health services at a time where, for instance, I've carried twice to the legislature, our legislative delegation in Washington, D.C. has increased behavioral health payments on Medicare. But here we're decreasing our services. You explain that through the increased use of our employee assistance group. Describe that a little bit more, if you could, just to take a sentence or two to explain the benefit of the EAG and the utilization percentages of that, perhaps.
Sure, no problem, Chair Lovall, Commissioners, Commissioner Farr. So the Employee Assistance Program is a benefit that is made available to all of our employees and every single person that's in their household. So they have the option of accessing that service up to 6 times at no cost to them. It can be on county time. That's 6 times per person per issue in their household. In addition, many of the counselors that are with Cascade Health, which is a known local service that many employees are very familiar with, they can braid those services with Pacific Source Insurance and can continue their mental health services through Pacific Source beyond the 6 sessions if they so choose. And there is availability with that counselor to provide those services. And all I can say is that regarding the behavioral health services at the Live Well Center, I have found that this is indicative of other employers that have had mental health services embedded in their own clinic. They have had a hard time getting the utilization where it needs to be. It could be that there is just continuing stigma around mental health services, and that the nexus to the employer, even though these are not employees, Marathon is a third party, that there still may be some concerns with some employees there. Despite our best efforts in bringing our behavioral health person to various meetings, to promoting in various ways, we were never able to get above that 45% utilization. And given our increasing costs and benefits and how every dollar counts and we need to maximize it, we made the very difficult decision to shift resources from behavioral health to standard medical benefits.
Well, thank you, Mr. Trujillo, because you've made me feel very confident that I did exactly what I intended to do, which was throw you a softball regarding behavioral health services. Our EAG, Employee Assistance Group, is a very private way to do things. And you mentioned a stigma sometimes attached with behavioral health services. The EAG is comprehensive, fully functional, and it extends to the entire family in a very private fashion. A part of that then becomes the increased awareness among our employees that we do have the EAG available. It can be tremendously effective, particularly with the extended services available through Pacific Source, which is our health insurance carrier. Even though we are self-employed, Pacific Source is our carrier of sorts. So I want to say thank you for hitting that softball. I think we're all the way over the fence. Our employees are not experiencing diminished access to behavioral health services. In fact, potentially even greater access. Thank you.
Commissioner Trieger, please.
Thank you. Thank you for those questions, Commissioner Farr. Mine is on this in the same vein. Are the services or the credentials or qualifications of the folks providing care through Cascade, through the EAP, comparable to what was at the Live Well Center? How does the kind of service align or differ?
Yes, thank you, Chair Lovall. Thank you, Commissioners, Commissioner Trieger. Yes, the providers at the Cascade Health Clinic have various different sorts of credentials. All of them are credentialed to provide these sorts of counseling services to any employee, and some have beyond the standard credentials. And the advantage of the Cascade Health EAP is that these are all known providers in the community. And what's different about the current EAP that the county has versus previous EAPs is that employees at any time can look at all of the providers available through Cascade Health and see all of the credentials that they have and see what sort of experience they have and what areas of focus that they have. So my answer would be that yes, they have that, and in some cases more than what we currently provide through the Live Well Center.
Great, thank you. And then the other question, and this may or may not be relevant, so I'll ask this. This is also family members are eligible. Family members of employees are eligible to use the EAP service. But that does not necessarily mean that family member is required to be on the insurance plan with the employee?
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, any employee, whether they opt out or not, is eligible to access the EAP services, and any person in their household can also access the EAP services.
Which is wonderful. And My question then, which may not be for you, it may for other, but I'll air it here, is as we know, we are going through a major transition in Lane County with our CCO models and going from 2 to 1. Do you happen to know if Cascade is in network for Trillium for behavioral health services?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I do not.
I
will
was,
have to get back to
it was
you
going to
on
be a
that.
bonus if you did know, not an expect you to. So I will find that out because that really matters as far as access to care. And then my last comment is just congratulations. I cannot remember the last time, if ever, that I've heard that a healthcare provision contract was actually reducing in cost, let alone stabilizing or freezing for 2 full years. That's phenomenal. Thank you.
Well done. Well done, James. Good job. All right, how about a motion if there's no more discussion?
Yes, Chair. I move to approve Order 25111810 in the matter of approving the Marathon Health contract beginning January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028 to provide employee health clinic services with 3 optional 1-year extensions and delegating authority to the county administrator to execute the contract.
Is there a second?
I'll second, and 3 1-year
3 1-year
amendments.
Correct.
All right, thank you. Vice Chair has moved to approve Order 25111810 in the matter of approving the Marathon Health contract, seconded by Commissioner Buck. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Again, James, well done. Good job. And your team.
I need about a 90-second excuse. Thanks.
Please. All right, Mr. Mokrzycki, I think it's up to you and Sheriff Wilkerson and looks like Captain Rice and Ms. Judy Williams to give us the report on the Public Safety Funding Monthly Report. Oh, looks like we have just only a few coming to the table.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. Yes, Sheriff Wilkerson, thank you for being here, and Judy Williams is also here, our Chief of Staff and County Administration. I'm going to give an update. We're doing a monthly update to the board on the public safety work group that we have established. This work group is an internal working group that is building on the work of the task force. So just as a reminder, the board created this task force. It met for over a year. We had 11 residents from throughout Lane County, geographic representation, different backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives that served on this task force. They developed what is this really nice, well, what would we call it? Report. It is a report. It's rather lengthy, but really good assessment of the current public safety system in Lane County, the challenges that we face with funding, and they make some recommendations here. So this is the work that we are seeking to advance. I'm going to just, at the risk of starting without defining the why are we talking about the public safety system for those who maybe are just tuning into this conversation. Lane County's public safety system has been underfunded really, we can go back to the 1980s. Lane County government has one of the lowest permanent property tax rates in the state of Oregon of any county. Why is that? Because we have always relied on federal funding. Our community and Lane County government has relied on federal funding from harvesting on federal lands. Over 55% of Lane County's land base is public lands. And the majority of that is federal land that has historically been used for harvesting timber. So we didn't need a high property tax rate for many years. We didn't have to tax our local residents, so we had an artificially low property tax rate because we had all of this federal funding. And then we had an inversion of the problem where that federal funding declined because of changes in federal law. Statewide property tax cap goes into effect in the mid-90s, and Lane County's frozen at this artificially low level. This is not a problem, with all respect, that our cities in Lane County or other counties, most other counties throughout Lane County, particular comparables, Washington County, Clackamas, Marion, Deschutes, Jackson, as well as the other timber counties. I should say those 5 counties that are our comparables. The other timber counties that are similar to Lane County in the sense that they're timber counties don't have the population size or the density of population within the urban areas and the need for public services that we provide here in Lane County. So comparing ourselves to all the other timber counties is really not effective. And then when you compare us to our actual comparable counties based on population and the diversity and economic base, our tax rate is significantly below that. So that's the story of why we're having this conversation. What we have seen in recent years, we've seen about a 90% decline in federal funding as a result of the timber funding declining and the Secure Rural Schools federal entitlement program essentially going away. We went from over $40 million a year in inflation-adjusted funding that we would have today in our general fund and road fund that we don't. So imagine that, $40 million more than we have today that we would have to spend on public safety and on critical infrastructure that was wiped off our books. We don't have anymore. So this is the problem that we are trying to solve. It is not a problem of expenses growing faster than revenues. Yes, that's a problem we're dealing with, but we're dealing with that in the course of our annual budget cycle. The problem we're seeking to tackle and the task force was seeking to tackle is this chronically underfunded. So what we saw in 2020 and in 2021 is that the prior board authorized funding, Secure Rural Schools funding, other funding that was made available from the road fund and the general fund to put into one-time pots of money to enhance rural patrols. So we have been living off of this 5-year enhanced rural patrols minimally, and the sheriff can talk about it's very, very minimal, but it has been slightly enhanced. So the most recent enhancement of public safety services came about 5-6 years ago, and it is slated to expire at the end of this fiscal year. Unfortunately, what we've also seen in the last couple of years is a continued erosion of state funds that fund our public safety system, including the sheriff's office and corrections and parole and probation. And you've seen that through the decline, the $7 million, nearly $8 million cut that we took in state funding over the biennium that has impacted the sheriff's office and parole and probation, as well as our partners and sponsors. So this is all part of the challenge we're dealing with. The task force wrestled with these issues over a year. They came up with 4 recommendations that are focused on efficiency, prioritization, and trust. A multi-layered solution. They said there's not like one single thing that you should target, but it needs to be multi-layered. That was the second thing. The third thing was potentially looking at, if you're going to look at new revenue, look at a payroll tax. And the fourth option was looking at a special district formation, which would be carving out similar to what Deschutes County has. So you have in your packet a visual representation of sort of the timeline and work that we're seeking to do. Right now, we have, you have a progress report and timeline there. We are looking at ways to narrow the focus from what the task force has recommended based on resident feedback. So our first step has been conducting a poll that is representative of our voting population. We've identified a polling firm. Our work group team has refined questions that will go out to voters through a scientific polling process, and that will assess the wider sentiment around the task force's recommendations. Our hope is that that will potentially tell us, it will give us some insights into where we should direct further outreach. So that is going to happen. We expect that the poll will be fielded after Thanksgiving and before the end of December. So within the course of the next month and a half. Our next board update will be December 3rd. We actually have a work session scheduled with the board for, are we doing 90 minutes?
120.
Oh, 2 hours. Okay, we're going to do 2 hours with the board on December 3rd. You're going to hear an overview from the sheriff and the DA on funding levels. They're going to sort of talk through options 1, 2, and 3. This will be in advance of when we have our work session with the board on budget prioritization, kind of getting guidance from the board on the annual expenses exceeding revenues conversation that we deal with every year. But before we get to that sort of chronic budgetary challenge we face every year that is problematic but different than what we're talking about here, the sheriff and the DA will talk about kind of really where they are underfunded, and if we were to see an infusion of new resources into the public safety system, where would they recommend that those funds go? And in January and February, we'll have additional board work sessions to review the polling results and seek to narrow the scope of consideration of those poll results and help give us clear direction, right? We're really looking for where do we want to go here, and the board, we think, needs some of that understanding of where the public may be. And then you'll see in that chart that we showed that we're seeking to do community engagement January through March, and really throughout 2026. So we're trying to get some of that early voter sentiment here by the end of this calendar year, and then begin next year by saying, okay, here's what we're hearing from the community initially. Now let's go out and start having some conversations in communities and get some additional feedback to further refine where we may want to go with that. That's the quick overview. So the only intent here today was just to kind of keep you in the loop on the conversations we're having and the work that we're doing, and knowing really all the decisions are going to rest with commissioners, but there's a lot of work that's happening in partnership with, all of our folks, particularly the sheriff and the DA. And then I'd like to turn it over if the sheriff has anything he'd like to add, and then Judy, if you want to add anything as well.
Good morning, everybody. I don't think I have much to add to what the county administrator already shared. I will say that I look at the polling as kind of a temperature test for the community to kind of start that conversation with them to figure out which direction we should really be focusing our attention towards. When the county administrator refers to the enhanced patrol, I just want to remind everybody that bought us a minimum of 3 deputies and a sergeant for 911 response throughout the county. So that enhancement is 3 bodies responding to 911 calls. So I wish we'd find a different word for that. But it was an improvement, so I will say that. It was an improvement over what we had, so.
The bar is pretty low.
The bar is pretty low,
So it's like
yeah.
anything we do.
But I'm just available for any questions you may have. I think that I'll save a lot of what I'm going to say for the third when we do our presentation, because I'm going to give you kind of a reminder of the way our budget's designed and what kind of improvements would come if we were to have an infusion of additional revenue.
To the board, yes, Commissioner Buck.
Thank you, Chair. Question for you, Sheriff. Are you feeling comfortable with the timeline that's being presented? I know everything is taking time, and the community engagement part is extensive, right? Because we know we need to have community buy-in, but I also, of course, feel a sense of urgency. So I just wanted to make sure that this timeline is something that you're feeling comfortable with.
I'm 100% with you on the sense of urgency aspect of it, but I will tell you that I feel like we don't really have any other choice than the timeline we've kind of created. We've had a lot of conversations about it, and I don't want to do something that's not ready yet, if that makes sense. I don't want to push something to the community that we're not ready for them to have. So I think without the preparation time, we are, likely not going to have the success that we want. So I'm with you on urgency. I want to go faster, but I don't think we had the ability to do that and be successful. So,
Commissioner Trieger, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff, so much, and Administrator for the presentation. I think we all feel that sense of urgency, but we do want to get it right. And things take time to do them right, and particularly things that are this volatile. I mean, we heard a lot of public comment this morning. There's a lot of people with eyes on what's happening on the ground with law enforcement, and there's not always discernment about whose uniform, whose jurisdiction, and the broader conversations about public safety are really dynamic and shifting right now. So my expectation and hope, given that, and just given any campaign I've ever been a part of on an issue side, is sometimes you need to do polling more than once. First you do it, as you said, Sheriff, as a temperature read, but it also gives you a lot of information about how you message and talk about why you're putting before people what you're putting before them, if that is the route we even take. So I will always want to temper our urgency with not putting getting something done quickly in front of doing something that really feels integrous and right, and that has a good chance of not just succeeding if we get to a point where we're asking people to mark their ballots, but actually increases people's understanding of what we understand when we say a public safety system. And because things are so volatile and so dynamic right now, we might get really different answers polling people in the next couple of weeks than what people might say as it gets closer to the spring of next year, for example, if we did another round with some new language or new messaging, depending what's happening in arenas beyond our control, but that are very much impacting our community right now. Just put that out there.
Yes, Commissioner Farr.
Thank you. Sheriff, good to see you. I write down quotes a little bit. I sometimes paraphrase and get them a little bit incorrect, but what I heard you say was that you are personally reluctant to put things in front of the voters generally that they're not ready to either understand or support. Is that a kind of a characterization of what?
I would say that's fair representation.
Okay, good. That's what I put down. I'll not put quotation marks around that, but when I talk about this, and I agree with you, Carl, Sheriff, that we are, I called you chief for so long, now I'm calling you sheriff. So, great step. So we have Mr. Mokraski, we have a schedule in process right now, and the next step is on December 3rd. We'll have a very comprehensive discussion regarding where we are, where we're going, and what to expect in the work sessions that we'll see in January and February regarding the returns on the poll. And I agree with Commissioner Trieger that sometimes a single poll is not adequate. Sometimes it gives you just a snapshot in time that's not exactly the snapshot that works the very best for the process. And Sheriff, moving forward with what I believe is going to be a generational revision of the way we fund public safety in Lane County, that's not just for today, it's for a long time to come, and begin to reinstall things that were taken away many, many years ago. I remember when a former sheriff parked all the police cars out in the parking lot. I think it was before you were probably a deputy.
Yes.
And that was that
before I was a deputy.
McManus, I believe that.
I think I was in grade school, Commissioner.
And that was a long time ago. But that didn't solve any issue at the time when he did that, because it continued to diminish. And our public safety levy, I call the sheriff's levy, to fund the jail and other important services, youth services, et cetera, is just a Band-Aid. It's just patching things, but it's done a good job of reinstating some of the services that were diminished through years. And putting it forward at the right time, Sheriff, is absolutely essential to me as well as you, that we do things in a way that people fully understand, and they also understand the long-term impact of providing the services. You know, I participated in a poll this last week regarding travel in Lane County, and it was an outside agency was doing a poll. And the thing that came up regarding travel in Lane County, we are a destination for a lot of reasons. Public safety is a huge issue, and people generally have a good impression of public safety in Lane County. But that being said, it's once you get outside of the metropolitan area, it's really hard to identify what you don't have when you've never seen it. So, I appreciate the work that you've done in conjunction with the prior sheriffs, with the Sheriff Harold, with Sheriff Trapp, and all the way back to Sheriff Turner. You know, that we're moving forward in a way that really is timely at this point in time. Wish it could be faster. Wish it had happened 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago. But today's the day, and moving forward at a deliberative pace as we are, I believe is a good way to go. Sheriff Wilkerson, thank you for being here. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for confirming that what I wrote down is approximately right. Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Sheriff. I appreciate it. You know, I just want you to know that you've gotten it from all of us, but we're dedicated to getting this right. And I would like to see this move faster, as a lot of us would, but sometimes patience is going to win here. When you know, when you came in, you came in and took a pretty tough budget, and a lot of us here have said we will not see our sheriff's department cut anymore, and we lost 2 of our rural deputies right after we started. So we will continue to work on this, and I want to get this right, and I want to change how the funding, as Commissioner Farr said, change how we are funding our public safety here in Lane County, and if this is what we all agree that we're going to work on, we'll continue to work on it, and we'll work on it together. So thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate everything you do.
Echo those comments. We don't have a good community unless we have a safe community, right, Sheriff?
That's correct.
And I appreciate your reference to the 7 Ps. You started saying that I thought maybe a little bit that prior proper, but I'm going to add an 8th P. Patient prior proper planning prevents those other 2 Ps of performance. So I appreciate the fact that we're handling it in that matter. And yeah, it's important that we do get it right. And so our highest priority, my highest priority is public safety. You know that. I'm behind you 100%. You and your team, you do a stupendous job with what you have. And you continue to do it with great sacrifice and great honor. So I want to thank you for that as well, too. Any other questions, comments? Mr. Mokryski, any closing statements? Judy? All right. I guess we're moving on. Thank you, sir. Be safe out there. Have a great day. Mr. Mokryski, it's your turn for announcements, sir.
Okay, I just have one thing here. I think Jessica might be pulling up for us. She is the new Lane County eScribe software system that we have implemented and is now live. Jessica Gebb, who is our board coordinator, who folks see behind the scenes, but she's hardly ever, out public. I want to thank and recognize Jessica and Tanya Ellis as well as, our TS team and many folks in county admin, TS, and our departments who've been working to implement this system. No one harder than Jessica and Tanya. So Jessica's going to sort of help us work through this, but really I just wanted to call out the great work behind the scenes to implement this new eScribe system. So this is a new digital platform that we've implemented to manage our board meetings, agendas, minutes, and related documents. Obviously, this is critically important for commissioners because it's the system that you use to review material. It's important for the public because they also get to see what items the board is taking action on and review material and decide what they want to come and make public comment or send you comments via email on. And then our departments are submitting all of this business, right? So this is all the work that we need to do to move the organization. We're over $1 billion public company with close to 2,000 employees, a little bit less now. And so how we manage that process is really important, and it's constant, right? It's sort of like, the mailroom. It's just always flowing. Information, decisions, actions are always flowing through. But we needed a change to this system because the county's previous agenda management process was time-intensive, it was manual, and it didn't support coordination and efficiency in producing agenda material. You can just imagine, 10 different departments in the county, multiple divisions within every department, staff, in departments that are changing from time to time, having to be trained in systems, various processes and ways in which people would submit documents. Then we have our staff and county administration has to pull all that, and they would have to adjust things and sort of make it consistent and standardized. So we're done with that. We've implemented this new system that allows us to, this is really a process improvement, right? We took a process that was manual and time-intensive and inefficient, and we've made it standard and more efficient and more clear for everybody to manage and navigate. We're really excited to be using the system. We hope that the public finds that there's actually enhanced transparency and that we find enhanced public participation because the way we can navigate the system is actually easier to do. The public hopefully is going to get information really quickly once we post things, that you can sign up for notifications. If you go on the website, you can access the meeting agendas and materials like you always have on the website, and I'll walk through this in a second. And you can also sign up to receive notifications when an agenda material is published by clicking the blue link titled Sign Up for Notifications. Jessica has her cursor over that. Sign up for notifications. It's white right now. It turns blue when you take your cursor off of it. And then I wanted to point out, if you go to, we have a few different ways. Can you go, Jessica, to the agenda itself? Where are we going to go to see that? Okay, up here. So you see a few ways. There are a couple of PDFs. You see the agenda. You can open that in a PDF, or the agenda full package in a PDF. That might be if you want to print it out. You would open up the PDF. But if you want the active links, which often, like I use that during the board meetings, I pull up the agenda and then I want to click on the material specifically, click on that HTML version. That's going to bring up This is not a great one to print out. It doesn't look really good when you print it out, but it's a really good one to interact with. So you can click on, let's go down to, let's go down to the public safety update we just did. That was really interesting. And we had, where were we? County administration report. So click on that link. You're going to go over to the right here and you click on the what is that, a paper clip? And then we can see a couple documents pop up. Let's open the report. So that's the report then. Can you open that report there? It should come up here. It just takes a minute up. What you'll see when we open this up, there are two documents in this item particularly. There's a report that we can open, and then there was the timeline for the project. And you can open and see, just like you did on the prior agenda there. So that's it. Jessica, is there anything else you want to call out? There's the report that she just clicked on, so you can easily access the individual items that we're talking about, or if you want to go back and look at a meeting, you can click on those things. So we're coming into the 21st century here, and we finally have this new system. We did a lot of work in preparation to make sure we selected the right software. There's a lot of research that Jessica and Tanya and others did, looking at other places that utilize this system, what was the right system that was going to work best for us, what was going to cause the least amount of disruption for, the board and our staff and the public, and really create the most efficiency and improvement in the way we do our business. So a little bit of behind the scenes. Again, appreciate all the great work by our staff who've led this. And if folks have questions, send a message to Jessica. She'll definitely, she's great at, she's already done that with me, helping me. Oh no, we have a solution. We have an answer to that question. So that's it.
Awesome. Again, Jessica and Tanya, well done, great work, and all those that helped you with the team. It's always good to have change, always good to learn it without having to stumble over it, so they did a really good job doing that. All right, is there any commissioners' business that we need to attend to? Any announcements from the commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Farr.
Well, we have the AOC conference happening across the street where virtually all counties in Oregon are only a few hundred feet away from us right now, and we'll all have a chance to participate one way or another. I'd like to make sure that everybody has on their calendar to be at the 8:30 impacts of federal level policy and funding changes on local public health, behavioral health, and homelessness prevention and response. It's a panel. Our own Eve Gray will be sitting on that panel along with other specialists from around the state. I am scheduled to be the moderator of the panel, but the panel will be populated by people who really can describe the impact at the county level and at the services level that affect us throughout the state. It's going to be well attended, and I would hope that everybody would put that on their calendar for 8:30 tomorrow morning. A lot of stuff going on. Thank you.
Yes. Commissioner Buck.
I had a few things. I had the opportunity, along with Mr. Murkowski and some of our staff, to attend the Eugene Chambers Economic Summit last week. It was packed to the gills, and it was a breakfast. They had some food and some really wonderful speakers, and it was noted even at the end of the session by some of the panelists who were speaking that they were impressed that the president of the University of Oregon stayed for the entire time. He's very engaged. He was also a speaker and was really showing what he felt as a vision for the Southern Willamette Valley area. And so it was kind of a prelude to the leadership summit that will happen in Portland in a couple of weeks. I imagine some of the same presenters will present there. If you haven't been, it's a good economic/business event to see where we're going for the direction in Oregon. So I just encourage folks to attend if they can, and thank the Chamber for putting on such a good event here locally. The other item that I thought I would share is I'm part of the Regional Solutions team, and we meet pretty regularly. Some of the work that they're doing, we obviously know very well here, is water and wastewater systems. This is coming up over and over again throughout the entire region for any kind of economic development, housing, et cetera. And honestly, I've been dealing with that largely in our smaller communities or even unincorporated communities. But it turns out that this is a major issue for cities as well, because there are barriers to Lebanon and places that you would think in a larger city that they have these solutions for water and wastewater systems, when in fact they're feeling those same barriers. So I think we need to think broader about our solutions to water and wastewater systems. Obviously, Commissioner Farr has been helping a great deal with our work in Cresswell for their system. And we have moratoriums in some unincorporated locations here locally. But we need to have a broader statewide discussion about how we can support water and wastewater systems, especially in light of the federal administration discontinuing infrastructure programs that would otherwise fund these programs. So I thought I would just bring that to our attention, that it's turning into a much broader discussion and needs much broader visionary solutions than what we initially had thought traditionally of the problem in general. And on the subject of the Association of Oregon Counties here in town, Commissioner Traeger and I had a lovely dinner yesterday evening. Traditionally, the conference has, women commissioners have a dinner as a prelude to the conference. This year, they had speakers that were either the executive director or part of the executive team for OHCS, Oregon Housing and Community Services, Department of Land Conservation, DLCD, and ODOT. So it was really great to see different perspectives and state-level agencies coming down and showing up for us at this conference. I find that really important because we have commissioners from all over the state that are here in town, and we know that we have similar issues, concerns, problems, and potential solutions that we all share. And we need the leadership of the state of Oregon to be present in order to find those solutions and partnerships that will make a difference to the community. So if you don't get a chance, I would highly encourage you to be able to touch base with those state agencies.
Any comments from this morning's public comment? How about any, go ahead, Commissioner Trigger.
Thank you. I just, it's hard, we used to, for forever until fairly recently, have the opportunity to respond to comment when the commenters were still in the room. Some may tune back in later. So I just want to say how much I appreciate folks coming out, particularly those who were personally impacted by recent ICE activities. It was really clearly painful and difficult, but important for them to be in the room. And how much I appreciate each one of us in our capacity as elected officials. We have the same right as the folks who came to speak this morning to speak out and share our opinion, but we have a different position of influence that some of us have opted to use to sign on with other elected colleagues, to use our own communication channels from the seat we sit in to make really clear where we stand. The one thing that the five of us have that no one else who spoke before us have this morning is to actually cast a vote, an affirmative or not vote on a policy or an official statement on behalf of this organization to represent the values. So making comments is important, clearly it really matters to community, and each one of us has that same opportunity, as did the folks who came before us. But we have a unique opportunity and position to actually make policy, and as a body cast votes on statements that reflect our values. And we have done some of that, and we will likely do more of that as situations unfold. And I also want to offer publicly my appreciation to county administration and to the team that worked to be so responsive so quickly on the heels of events earlier this month, and make sure that we are putting our money where our mouth is, and that we are, as an organization, making really evident to the community that we stand with them and recognizing some of the most vulnerable folks in their time of need. So great appreciation to staff for working so quickly to come up with a really excellent solution with the release of special funds, and just reminding us that we are a policy board. So statements are one thing, but the policies and the votes we cast are another, and we have a unique opportunity and privilege to do that very thing.
Thank you. Any committee report? Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Buck.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that, Commissioner Traeger. In the audience, it was recognized that Juanita, from Juanita's Latina store in Cottage Grove, was present in our audience. A lot of that videotape of her by her daughter prompted a lot of the action that occurred for the community. And I was able to attend the vigil down in Cottage Grove afterwards with the community. It was very well attended. And her story, she's the bravest person I think I've met, one of the bravest people I've ever met, including her daughter. The video was excruciating to watch. And she has stood up in her community and told her story several times since then. And a lot of people who have gone through that kind of trauma would not be able to withstand that. I really want to appreciate her being present here today, and for the stories that were told. I too want to give Administrator Mokrajski and the team huge appreciation for the immediate response that you made, and trying to figure out in the days after what we could do as a community and what we could do specifically as a county in response. We have to do more. And as a board, I think we can do more. I don't know if that's an additional public statement as the board together. But I too don't think that this kind of activity will end anytime soon. That is the unfortunate truth. So I would encourage us to think about what we can do in the meantime. Obviously, the public came out today to tell us how they felt and how it impacted them, their appreciation for what we've done so far, but they also told us we can do more. I agree with them, and I think we as a body can figure out what that is and respond to the community.
Thank you. Is there any committee reports to report? Or any future board assignments that you have in your mind? Yes, Commissioner Farr.
Just a report from the Poverty and Homelessness Board, ever so brief. We've not had our monthly meeting yet. That happens next week. But one thing that we're going to be reporting on is the notice of funds available from HUD that came out yesterday. We had a prelude to it, the officers meeting, and pretty significant reductions in how we're able to support our local agencies through HUD dollars that come through the Continuum of Care, the CFC, which the Poverty and Homelessness Board serves as. We don't know all of the details yet, but a lot of the support that we've been given historically for many years will be gone after this year because of diminished funding from HUD.
future board assignments? All right, seeing none, there's no reassignments to review. Any other business for the good of the order before we adjourn? But we need to read ourselves into executive session first. Let me do that, please. Board of County Commissioners will now meet in executive session. The session is to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection and to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body in regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. It is held to pursuant ORS 192.6602F and ORS 192.6602H, which allow the Board of Commissioners to meet in executive session for the purposes listed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are precluded from attending. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during executive session except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. Members of the news media are not allowed to tape, video record, or otherwise record an executive session, and verbatim notes are prohibited. No decision may be made in executive decision. We'll meet upstairs in the Board of County Commissioners room sharp at 11 o'clock. We will reconvene back here on our next meeting, which would be December 2nd, 9 a.m. in Harris Hall. We are adjourned.